Gaming as a service has become both a blessing and a curse during this past generation. While some games don't hinder the overall experience with the point of squeezing every last penny out of the consumer, others are actually made with that greedy purpose in mind. Mobile games have been placed on the forefront of the argument against gaming as a service, yet the accessibility and general fun of more popular mobile titles disperse most criticisms. Case in point, Granblue Fantasy. Released in 2014, Granblue Fantasy has stood the test of time as a Japanese-born gacha game that gained enough popularity to be adapted into an anime series and now a 2.5D fighter, with acclaimed developer Arc System Works at the helm. Considering the amount of effort it takes to usually be decent in an Arc fighter, I was rather worried as to how the developer would be able to convince the mobile audience to invest in a game completely devoid of what makes the source material so enjoyable, all the while questioning if the gameplay would be interesting enough to keep a dedicated fighting gamer invested. Similar to other games in the genre, Granblue Fantasy Versus offers a lot for the player to potentially enjoy from a single-player aspect, including an arcade mode that features the ability to raise or lower the difficulty following each successful fight until the ultimate final battle with the Devil Incarnate. Unfortunately, the only rewards with completing arcade are an extra skin for the character utilized and a unique piece of art. No animated or even storyboard character ending presentations. The real meat for single players is the game's RPG mode, where the player takes part in a visual novel presentation that showcases the action in a 2D brawler fashion, featuring the game's core fighting elements. There are multiple aspects of RPG mode that will take completionists a good 15 hours to complete, mostly associated with the grinding for materials to craft high-end weapons and a hard mode that feels more cheap than challenging, due to the enemies having bigger life bars, hitting harder, and the bosses having armored moments aplenty. There are also online options for completing missions in RPG mode, as well as the rather comprehensive dedicated tutorial section. Online fighting has only one trophy or achievement, requiring a single win by the player, but the action of ranked play and usually populated lobbies for low-risk fights against players from around the world will keep players coming back for more and more even after suffering some crushing defeats. After 20 plus hours of gameplay across every available mode, I attained the Platinum Trophy. Understanding Granblue's audience may not be the most proficient in regards to fighting games. Arc Systems wisely produced a game that is rewarding for those who just want to mash buttons, as well as those who enjoy learning a character's repertoire and mastering it to the best of their abilities. The control scheme features light, medium, and heavy strikes, as well as a unique attack associated with the controller's face buttons. Upon repeatedly tapping one of the strike buttons when close to an opponent, will allow for each character to execute an automatic combo. While the auto combos are different in sight, the result is all the same across each fighter. Unique button attacks are specific to each character, like the spear-wielding Zeta pulling off a rapid series of strikes, or the dual knife-using Lancelot sprinting forward with the intent of starting a combo. There are also dedicated high and low attacks, both associated with the face buttons and the triggers. If an opponent is blocking while standing upright, a swift low attack or sweep will open them up for a combo. The same for an adversary blocking while crouched, leaving them prone to an overhead strike. Throws are great for breaking blocks, as well as catching someone in mid-air before they can propel downward with an attack, as every character can pull off an air throw. Blocking actually takes some getting used to, as the player can block both by holding back on the directional pad or analog stick, or by holding down the dedicated block button. While both are advantageous with the game automatically blocking combos if the player is precise with their timing, holding down the block button doesn't stop the character from moving. Pressing forward while holding the block button will have the character dash forward for a second, and pushing back causes the quick dodge mechanic to kick in. Both are very effective for getting past projectiles and closing the gap. What really makes the fighting mechanics interesting are the character's special maneuvers. Each of the 4 special attacks associated with each character can be executed in one of 2 methods. The easy way by pressing the skill or right bumper button alongside a particular direction, be it forward, down, back, or none at all. or utilizing the standard quarter circle motions associated with other popular 2D fighters like Street Fighter. Each special attack has a cooldown attached to it that prevents the overusage of each special maneuver. Encouraging players to learn how to perform special attacks without the help of the skill button is the fact that special maneuver cooldowns are reduced when the player is employing the quarter circle method, though a majority of the maneuvers return to a state of usage relatively quickly whether or not the technique is used by the player. What really affects the special maneuvers' cooldown is whether or not the player uses the medium or heavy strike button to accent the circular motion or the skill button to perform an EX version of any special move. EX versions of special maneuvers cause the move to cool down a lot slower than their regular counterpart, though usually offering better ways to complement both auto and link combinations, with the latter being executed via specifically timed button inputs, usually mixing highs, lows, and special attacks for incredible damage. The 11 base characters available, the game's final boss can be unlocked after completing RPG mode, all have special maneuvers, Skybound Art and Super Skybound Art, based on two factors, the character's health and the SB bar located underneath the character's health. By hitting the opponent, being struck, or simply moving forward, the SB bar fills up until it reaches 100%. If the character with a full SB bar pulls off the necessary button combination, while having more than 30% health, they will unleash a Skybound Art. But if that character's health is below 30% and the player hits the unique attack button alongside the SBA combo, a Super Skybound Art will be utilized. SSBA attacks are incredibly cinematic and can wipe out almost half an opponent's health if it connects. Thankfully for the attentive, these super maneuvers can be blocked and countered for potential round-ending damage. Though a lot of systems go into making Versus what it is, the overall gameplay is easy to pick up and rewarding to master. The game offers a little something for everyone. The dedicated single player has arcade mode, a versus mode for local play against the CPU or a friend, several training mode options that focus on the basics and extensive combinations, and the hefty RPG mode. RPG mode is unlike anything else in the game as it presents a minor tutorial of the base systems while telling the story of Granblue Fantasy in a visual novel format. The story itself is highly underwhelming considering the endgame isn't meant to be truly conclusive. Even with the disappointing ending, RPG mode keeps the core gameplay elements while turning stages into 2D beat-em-up platforms, where the AI will flood in from opposite sides of the screen to be easily slaughtered due to their low health and weak attacks. The most RPG aspect of RPG mode is the weapon drops. After almost every successful battle, the player is gifted a weapon that features a rarity level, elemental properties, can be upgraded, and placed in grid sets that boost the playable character's health and attack. Certain missions are specifically made to be easier if the player has a weapon type grid set featuring an opposing element, like water to fire. There is a draw option for getting more weapons utilizing cards earned by completing certain missions and challenges, as well as forging and simply purchasing weapons and skills from the in-game shop. No microtransactions necessary. There is also an option to have a partner controlled by the AI, a second player locally, or via online. Having a partner usually makes everything too easy in RPG mode, even if it's the final boss. There is also a challenge tower known as the Tower of Babel that provides a chance for the player to earn additional customization options for every playable character. RPG mode is an okay distraction and something for the uninformed in regards to the franchise's lore, but doesn't benefit from all the extra systems while not really exemplifying the game's greatest feature, the one-on-one combat. Online versus action, however, does produce some of the game's most rewarding moments. The player can take part in 3 online specific options, Ranked, Lobby, or Room. Ranked features the winning player gaining a crystal that raises someone's overall rank if they win 5 times in a row. Unfortunately, there will be times when the player squares up with someone well beyond their skill level, even if the player sets the search qualifier to same tier. Lobby is the game's casual fight options, with the only rewards being a numbered victory and currency that can be used to customize a player's online avatar. Room fights are essentially a small version of lobby, with only 9 players per room, while also featuring customizable match options like longer fight times. Connection quality is surprisingly good, no matter if you're fighting someone in North America or Japan, though there is noticeable input delay that is actually acknowledged on screen during any online fight. Beyond the rather underwhelming RPG mode, unremarkable arcade mode rewards, a rather small roster that is going to be boosted by season passes, and some extensive loading times before starting up fights as well as moving through the RPG mode menus. There is little to nothing upsetting about the game's most important feature, the combat both offline and online. For a game based on something that should not be made into a dedicated fighter, Granblue Fantasy Versus is a pleasant surprise with a control scheme and gameplay style that allows for fighting game rookies to not feel overwhelmed, while veterans are gifted a combat system that rewards mastery in exhilarating fashion. Fans of fighters like the King of Fighters 14 and Samurai Showdown will find themselves joyous mostly throughout when focusing on simply fighting locally or online. Unfortunately, the modes to add more to the single-player experience are underwhelming, RPG mode and arcade, due to unnecessary modifications to the gameplay or lacking rewards. The training modes are perfectly fine, as well as extras like the gallery to look at movies and listen to music. While it's not the most remarkable fighter on the planet that needs to be purchased right away, whether you're a fan of the Granblue series or not, it's hard to deny just how satisfying it is to strike down a sky pirate with your spear after a heated battle.
Should you wish to fight again, I shall oblige.
By my spear!
Finish! Is this as far as I go?
Thanks, Arbus. Was that too much for you?